What if I shocked you by saying that the sweet, beloved Princess Diana, the one everyone remembers as the kind-hearted people's princess, actually came from a family soaked in murder, lies, and forbidden romance that kings tried to wipe out forever? It's a terrifying truth that flips everything upside down about her background, pulling you into a nightmare of royal horror that still haunts the throne today. We all picture the happy story about Princess Diana, the quiet girl with big eyes who turned into a princess, the fashion star who shaped how people dressed for years. People always talk about the Spencer, her fancy family full of money, good manners, and high class. But that's just the pretty picture they want you to see. Under the Spencer name hides something much scarier. A tale full of death, backstabbing, and secret love affairs. A tale wiped from the books on purpose, but still running through Diana's own blood. The real name to keep in mind isn't Spencer. It's Tudor. Yes, those Tudors. The family of Henry VIII, the king famous for chopping off his wives' heads, breaking promises, and ruling with one of the most violent times in England's past. You might say that's crazy. After all, books say the Tudor family died out with Queen Elizabeth I. And on paper, that's right. But paper stories are often the biggest tricks ever told. So, if you believe the Tudor tale was done, let's dig it up again. Our story doesn't start in a shiny castle or a busy crowning room. It starts in the dark corners with a lady that history wanted to forget. Her name was Mary Tudor. Not the scary bloody Mary who was queen, but a different Mary. She was Henry VIII's little sister, a young woman whose looks were talked about all over Europe, with bright red gold hair and eyes that could be soft or fierce just the same. Henry loved her a lot. He named her his special gem. But gems can be hidden away. In 1514, to win friends in politics, Henry set up his 18-year-old sister to wed King Louis XII of France, an old, weak guy whose body was giving out. Picture being in her shoes, so alive, full of fire and energy, stepping into cold rock hallways of a strange land, with people staring suspiciously and gossiping quietly. One person who saw it, a guard called Thomas, once shared with his son that Mary's happy laughs were the only bit of warmth in that whole cold place. But only 82 days after saying her vows, King Louis passed away. Mary became a widow, and most of all, she got her freedom back. But being free as a princess back in the 1500s wasn't true freedom. It was just a short break, a quick stop before her brother the king picked her next man to marry. Mary understood Henry wouldn't let her stay single for long. She wasn't just his sister to him. She was his tool for deals, his piece in the never-ending game of power across Europe. But Mary had made a risky promise, one that could get her killed for betraying the king. Before getting sent off to France, she had fallen hard in love with Charles Brandon, the Duke of Suffolk, who was Henry's best buddy, a guy climbing high in the royal world. He wasn't from a kingly family, but he had the king's trust. And he had Mary's full heart. They had promised each other that if she ended up alone after her marriage, she would pick her own next husband. She would pick him. Going against Henry VIII meant you could die. But for real love, some dangers feel worth it. When news of Louis's death got to England, Henry acted quick. He sent Charles Brandon to France with clear orders: bring my sister the widow back home safely. But there was a hidden rule, sharp like a knife. Don't lay a hand on her. Henry knew about their feelings. So, to show he trusted him, he gave Charles a big gold ring with his seal. "This," he said, "shows I believe in you. Don't break that belief." Think of Charles on that boat, feeling the salty water from the English Channel hit his face, that ring feeling heavy like fire in his clothes. He was stuck between two promises. The king who gave him all he had, and the woman who was his only shot at real joy. Picking Mary could mean dying. Following Henry meant turning his back on love. When Charles got to the French palace, he saw Mary dressed in black for sadness, her rooms covered in dark soft cloth. But when they looked at each other, the sadness turned into something deep. Knowing each other, needing each other, begging without words. That same night, Mary faced him directly. She wasn't a scared young girl anymore. She was dressed in fine fabric. "Will you be my husband?" she asked strongly. It wasn't really asking. It was a demand he couldn't ignore. Charles paused, telling her about Henry's anger, about the scary Tower of London, about the sharp blade that kills traitors. He talked about Edmund de la Pole, a guy Henry killed just for being a far-off danger to his power. But Mary wouldn't give in. "If you don't marry me right now," she said in a strong whisper, "you'll bring me back to England, and I'll get pushed into another wedding, and I'll tell the king it was you who said no to me. I'll say you hurt his sister's feelings." It was a smart way to trap him. She put him between two bad ends. The king's mad anger if he wed her, or the king's mad anger if he left her behind. So, in a small church outside Paris, with just an old shaking priest and some scared helpers watching, they went against the king. As Charles put a ring he borrowed on Mary's hand, a big wind pushed the church doors open hard, putting out half the lights and making the place dark. The priest, Father Michel, took a sharp breath at the bad sign. They were husband and wife, and they were in big trouble. The trip back to England was pure pain. Every creak from the boats would sounded like the killing axe being sharpened. Every wave hitting the side felt like Henry's hand banging to get in. They hardly ate anything. They couldn't rest. They wrote letter after letter to the king, asking for kindness, giving him shiny stones and money from her marriage, making desperate deals to stay alive. Mary wrote about how much Henry cared for her, bringing up old promises. Charles wrote to Cardinal Wolsey, Henry's tough helper called the other king, asking him to help. They gave Henry all they could. Her money from France, her fancy jewels, everything they owned. They would give up all to just live. But when their boat got to Dover, the greeting was colder than the ocean. No flags waving, no happy shouts, just a few stern people. One of them, Sir Giles, a thick guy with eyes like a fish, wouldn't call Mary by her royal title. Instead, he looked at Charles with sadness and hate mixed. The point was clear. You're not the king's pal anymore. You're someone who betrayed him. They got called to London, not like special visitors, but like people in trouble. Word of their hidden wedding spread fast like fire. By the time they made it to the city, everyone at the palace was talking, and right in the middle was Henry VIII, madder than ever before. This wasn't just not listening. It wasn't only turning against him. This hit him personally. Mary was his own sister. Charles was his top friend. Together, they made him look silly to all of Europe. And Henry VIII didn't let people make him look bad. What was waiting wasn't a happy family meeting. It was a harsh decision. And in Henry's world, decisions were always scary. The path from Dover to London should have been a fancy royal trip. But it turned into a walk toward death. At each place they stopped, Mary and Charles got locked in their rooms. They weren't seen as highborn people anymore, but as shamed captives. Helpers who used to bow low now looked away, talking softly behind backs. One evening, a young boy who worked with horses, named Finn, who once looked up to Charles Brandon, pushed a paper under their door. It wasn't writing, but a rough picture. The Tower of London. 2 people on the death platform. The meaning was obvious. The whole land thought they would get killed. When they finally reached London, no groups of people waited, no calls of hello, no mean shouts, just quiet. They got split up right away. Mary got nice rooms with flowers and plates of silver food, but the doors locked from outside. It was a fancy trap. Charles got taken to a plain rock room with one window that had bars. From it, he saw only a plain wall inside. His life was now just those walls and his worried mind. This was Henry's opening play. Not killing them quick, not throwing them in a deep hole, but keeping them apart. He wanted fear to destroy them slowly from inside. For many days, no news came. No ruling, no sign of forgiveness, just nothing. A nothing so thick it felt alive. At last,